Dr. Yao Graham, in the Origin All report, the global body that is looking into safety-oriented company or standards, says that the illicit trading, shows that Ghana, Sudan, Ethiopia, Uganda are major illegal gold trading routes, with export destinations being Switzerland, the United Arab Emirates, and India. It shows that, quote, local gold refineries are being extensively used to launder gold from illicit sources in an artisanal mining sector. We are talking about the sector where Galamsey thrives, involving several million people, forced labor, and high risk. People die in the pits all the time. In their assessments of the trade data that they use, the data between Ghana and its three major gold trading partners, Switzerland, India, and United Arab Emirates, it was revealed that over $6 billion worth of gold exports remain unaccounted for from 2013 to 2016. The figure is expected to rise significantly if all export and import data between all of Ghana's gold trading partners were to be examined. So, first of all, what will be your assessment of this situation? While Switzerland's gold import figures revealed that they had imported close to $7 billion worth of gold from Ghana, Ghana's official records indicated an export of a little over $3 billion of gold. You see the joke that goes on in this country? And at the time where there was a ban on the small-scale mining, at that same time, there was heavy export of gold from small-scale mining to the world out there. Ghana also loses over $2 billion annually in unpaid royalties and taxes on gold smuggled out of the country, according to the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. Yes, Doc.
Yeah, I mean, clearly there is a major issue about accounting for all the gold produced. In fact, in one of the years at the peak of the Operation Vanguard, the output of gold from the small-scale sector actually increased. As we know, in terms of the figures that get published, there seems to be no disaggregation between legal and illegal small-scale gold mining. And as far as the informal economy is concerned, which is where illegal small-scale gold mining belongs, data collection and kind of regulatory regimes have a difficult time because, after all, illegal small-scale gold mining is an unlawful activity. But there is no. But the point I want to make here really is to draw a connection between the confirmation of the suspicions which have been widely held, about the scale of political protection, the political connection between large-scale criminal gold mining, and I'll not use the word small scale, because actually the scale of this criminal activity with political protection and political connection is extensive. So from that point, if you can have that level of protection for illegal production of gold, it's a simple step to be able to have that same protection for the illegal export of the gold. I mean, this is a simple deductive, kind of a logic we are using here. Because you're not producing legally. You want to illegally acquire wealth. So you'll be interested in the mechanisms and methods that allow you to acquire and hide your wealth, and therefore the corruption and abuse of the role of institutions and bypassing of accountability becomes logically inherent, in that transaction. So really, rather than go into a general discussion about, the billions and so on and so forth, we should look at the political economy of illegal gold production and trade, including export, and therefore the accumulation of illegal wealth. And the danger that this poses not only to the economy, but also to the fabric, of institutions and us.
Right. The CDD had done its survey about funding, a successful presidential election or successful parliamentary election involving millions of, dollars for presidency and for parliament. Now, the reports suggest, which is the biggest concern, quote, that illicit gold mining is becoming a rising source of income for cartels, criminal gangs, and non-state armed groups. We seem to be aware that part of this in our country goes into funding, political campaigns. And some have said that is the only reason that explains why the state itself has indicted the NPP regional chairman of doing wrong in a forest reserve, and yet the president appears to want to speak in his favor, and nothing has happened, even though it is claimed that he's been handed over to police.
There's it takes us back to some of the issues that arose in the discussion of the Electoral Commission appointment. There's a credibility issue which arises in all these situations. Because when the campaign, we did a round table at the height of the campaign, Operation Vanguard, and we invited a soldier who was involved a commander who was involved in this exercise. And I was afraid when people were really attacking the military for burning excavators and so on, human rights abuses, that the gentleman will get up and leave before it was his turn to speak. But he sat through it and then said, you know what? We learned some things in that exercise. That one, 400.
Dr. Graham's line again. I think he's about to talk about figures, and we just lost him there. Hello, Dr. Graham. Okay, so hello, Dr. Graham.
Figures, and that all the
hello, Dr. Graham. Hello, Dr. Graham.
Yeah.
Yes. We lost you at the point where you were about to give a figure. I think you were mentioning 400 something.
Yeah, I said the soldier said 400 soldiers will not solve the problem of illegal gold mining because of the extent of political protection and political involvement, and proceeded to illustrate it by saying, I can point you to this forest reserve in the western region, to this place in Ashanti, where this exercise is going on right now. And that we arrested Chinese people. The next day, they were out because some political person went and asked for them to be released. So Aisha Wang has become the poster girl of illegal gold mining. But it's a joke because we have put a xenophobic kind of spin on something which really is a domestic problem. All these Chinese who are in here are here because, according to the Frimpong Boateng report, they have protectors, they have allies, they have cooperators. So before we get to the illegal trade, the foundation of that is a scale of the overlap between political power and criminal activity.
Interesting there. So let me get direct into this report, and then you could take leave of us, and then we'll continue with the rest of our guests. This is a March 2021 report submitted to the president, who declared and has repeated that he will sacrifice his presidency to win the Galamsey fight to save our environment, the water bodies, which we are all told, and even lives. It has just been submitted to the police, according to Professor Frimpong Boateng, because he made comments which are on GTV, which are already contained in the report. And he made those comments known to the president, and the president only now asks the police to probe those allegations made publicly. What did the president do with this report? Isn't that the most important question to ask, sir?
Well, it is an important question. Definitely is an important question. But we are discussing it. That's why I'm interested in not focusing on the volume of illegal export, but the foundation of the illegal trade. Because unless we discuss it that way, really we'll be chasing shadows. What is the foundation of this illegal trade? I think that is really where, and it is clear that given some of the claims have been disputed. But even if some have been disputed, the overall picture it paints is of a certain overlap of criminality and political power. That is the essence of what we're dealing with. And if it is, even if only a fraction of that is true, it is clear that the influence of those types in the party will be important. Because even the Frimpong Boateng report itself is guilty of not seeing this as a public interest issue wholly, but actually discusses it in terms of the presidents of NDC or NPP people and so on. So the notion of a pure public interest driver of this report, we also have to critically analyze some of the mindset which is reflected in that report. The additional thing I want to say also is that, when this Operation Vanguard thing started and the Interministerial Committee was doing its work, we drew attention to the fact that some of the aspects of illegality in the way the committee was operating ran the danger of fueling a climate of impunity, where people feel they can do anything they like. So what the report also points to is also that there's a culture of impunity around the use of office and institutions, which really is a cancer. And if the president is sitting at the top of this pile, and the lens is we need to protect our party, we need to pay attention to NDC, MPP constituents, and so on and so forth, as part of the overall picture, you can be sure that some of that calculation will be informing some of the debates that are taking place at the highest levels about how to approach this. So the damage limitation will not be how do we protect the public interest, but sadly would continue to be how do we save our party and win the next election, which is not the public interest. So we are talking about party political interest superseding national public interest.
Right. So let's get your global view of the responses that have come so far, and that will be my final question to you. For example, he names quite a number of people. He says that he told the president directly in the presence of Sir John that Sir John was the head of the Forestry Commission, that he was a real problem. So I'm asking, what do you make of the responses that have come up so far? Most of the people say, well, he's pointing at us. We may have dealt with him, but we didn't seek to influence how he had to do what he had to do.
But this takes us back to, again, the notion, the perversion of the notion of conflict of interest and abuse of power, to the point where really people don't think that those concepts should even be part of public life. Otherwise, we'll not be getting those responses. I mean, people have issued denials and so on. Even if those denials are valid, the overall picture which comes out, even we took account of those denials, some of which can be dismissed as really not serious. What we have is a really, really dangerous thing. And on Sir John, this is a man who willed public forests to his family. So, I mean, in terms of the forest as a kind of private, assets to be used and given to friends and cronies to mine. I mean, although there's no direct thing, we can again deduce that it will be par for the course in terms of how he saw his role, in office. I know that he's not here to defend himself, but the logic of his practice, we can discuss it.
All right. Dr. Al Graham, thank you so very much for making some time for us this morning.
Thank you.
Right. Now...